Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. As I mentioned in my last video, I'm going to take you through my pregnancy week by week and share a few stories and experiences along the way. So this week I'm 25 weeks pregnant already. So I found that I'm needing to go to the toilet a lot more and with a lot more urgency, and also my pelvic girdle pain is causing me issues. It's really painful. I'm struggling to move around, my mobility is poor. I was referred to physio, but on the day before my appointment, they cancelled and they haven't been in touch again. So, yeah, it's not good. I'm not so tired anymore, so I can stay awake all day, which is great when you're looking after a toddler. So, in this video, I wanted to share my birth story with you from my first child, Mia. She was born in February 2022. I know a lot of you enjoyed listening to birth stories, as did I when I was pregnant in 2021, 2022. So, towards the end of my pregnancy, I thought, oh my God, I don't know what's going to happen. So, I went into panic mode. I didn't want to go into the birth with my eyes closed. So, I decided to research things. And I came across the Positive Birth Company and their hypnobirthing course. So, I immediately bought it and went through the course video by video. And there's so many things on there that I didn't know. And I'm really pleased that I actually did buy it beforehand. So I was well equipped and knew exactly what I needed to do. It helped me prepare my birth plan beforehand. I opted for a water birth in my birth plan, and I know you're not 100% going to be able to do what you want in your birth plan. So it was kind of loosely, you know, done. So, of course, you don't know the pains of contractions or childbirth until you actually go through it yourself. And apparently, I've got a low pain threshold. Yeah, it hurt. And I never wanted to go through it again. Not that I was traumatized by the experience, but yeah, why would you want to go through that again? I know that people probably say that you forget about the pain once the baby's here. I've never forgotten about that pain, but here we are doing it a second time around. So my baby was due on the 3rd of February, and I was offered a sweep at my last appointment and I declined it. On the 4th of February, I lost my mucus plug. You obviously don't know what it's going to feel like until it actually happens to you. But it felt like a little glug coming out, and I texted my partner to say I think that I've lost it. I told him to not get excited because it could still be like days or weeks. So on the 5th of February, I went to bed as normal, feeling fine. And then I woke up around 2 a.m. feeling kind of like tightenings around my belly. And I thought, oh, is this it? And so I decided to keep it to myself while my partner was lying next to me asleep. But I couldn't really sleep myself because my mind was racing. I was Googling, doing all these things. That morning, I realised it was definitely starting. The tightenings got more intense and more frequent. I timed them using the Freya app, which is recommended by Positive Birth Company, and they were getting closer and closer together. I thought I was handling the pain quite well, and at one point we decided to phone the maternity ward because of how close the contractions were. They did tell us to stay at home and take paracetamol until things got a little more intense. And then around 9 a.m., I thought it was time. So we got our stuff together and drove 30 minutes to the hospital. Midwife examined me, which was so painful. I couldn't actually believe how painful it was. And she told me that it was just a fingertip, dilated. I was gutted because of how intense the pain was. How much more could I actually take? So she lent me a TENS machine from the hospital to try and help me with the pain, and told me the best place was at home. So because our house was 30 minutes drive away, we decided to drive 10 minutes to my mother-in-law's house, and I continued to labour there until it was time. In hindsight, I think I should have gone back home because they had visitors and I was labouring upstairs in her bedroom and I just didn't have my home comforts with me. I watch Legally Blonde, which is one of my favourite films, whenever it's on TV. I don't know why, but I have to have it on, even if I watched it last week. So about around 6 o'clock, my contractions were just getting so painful and regular and unbearable. I was actually worried that I wasn't going to make it to the hospital. My mother-in-law was there rubbing my back. I was at the bottom of their stairs trying to wait for a contraction to stop so we could just jump in the car and go. It was awful, and the drive there was awful. The road was so like bumpy, and you don't think about these things before labour, that it's just gonna be terrible. So when we got to the hospital, he parked in the car park, and it felt like it took ages to get to the entrance door. To stop every couple of, well, however long my contractions were to have the contraction. And then we got to the reception. I sat in the wheelchair and he wheeled me up. We went straight up to the maternity ward. And I think they knew what was going on, probably by the look of my face and the agony and the breathing. I'm not one to scream or anything, so the breathing exercise at the Positive Birth Company really did help me. So they took me to a room to be examined. We were put on a bed, it was comfy, there was a bath in there already, so I thought, oh, is this where I'm labouring? Who knows? So at this point, the examination was unbearable. I could not be examined. I actually had to get gas and air to examine me. So they found that they said that I'm just 3 centimetres and I can't be admitted to hospital until I'm 4 centimetres. I was gutted. And I think they were like, oh, really, she's in so much pain. They didn't want to admit me to a ward because of how much pain I was in, and they didn't want to scare the other mums. So at this point, it was shift handover around 7 o'clock, and they left me in the room while they discussed what they would do for me. And it felt ages while they were doing this. But I actually think they were stalling to see if my body could move, like dilate me to 4 centimetres. And they came back, did another examination with gas and air, thankfully. And yeah, I was finally 4 centimetres. They could put me in the room permanently. Absolutely great. So my lovely midwife came in, she ran the bath for me. We got in the bath and it relieved a little bit of the pain, but it was still difficult. She gave me some diamorphine in my leg to relieve some of the pain. I initially didn't want any medication, but the pain was so bad for me that I just had to have something. We used the brain technique that the Positive Birth Company teach you, and yeah, I was happy to have the pain meds. So she kept monitoring how hot the bath was, but then she found that the thermometer was actually stuck in the plug or something, and I had to be moved because they couldn't have the bath in that condition. So mid-contraction, in the break in between, they had to get me up and move to the other room with another bath. Yeah, I had to run across the corridor with a towel around my waist. It was, yeah, interesting. So before I jumped in that bath, my waters went, and it just went everywhere, it felt. They actually said that there was meconium in there, so the baby had pooed inside me, unfortunately. So things had to get a move on pretty quick. There was a stage where my contractions stopped and I was feeling absolutely drained. I remember actually having my head resting in the water, like my lips were in the water with all these disgusting bodily fluids hanging around me. My partner was like, Jodie, you need to get your head out of the water. And apparently I was dehydrated, so they had to put a cannula in, which my partner nearly fainted at. There's me labouring, and he's like, oh, I can't handle her having a cannula in her arm. So after that, I had this feeling that I wanted to push, and I told my partner, but I didn't want him to tell the midwives. I wanted to keep it a secret. I didn't want to push, but he told them, and it's probably for the best that I did tell them. I don't, have anything against him for it. So they were then guiding me through what I needed to do. They wanted to get the baby out ASAP. So the birth plan kind of went out the window in a way. I wanted a quiet birth, but one of them was telling me to push and get mad with her, and I just kept getting mad, like thinking, why would I want to get mad with my baby? I don't even know her yet. You know what I mean? So because I had the cannula in and I was apparently relying on the gas and air, I wasn't allowed it anymore, which was awful, absolutely awful. People kept on coming in the room. Perhaps they thought I might have to go through a cesarean because of the urgency of having to get the baby out and not being sure if I could. And then eventually, I pushed with everything I could, and she came out. The midwives told me to get the baby, and I had no idea what was going on. So got the baby, and I think I almost dropped her again in the water. But the midwives helped stop that. So yeah, the first thing I did was look at. I think, what do you look like? Do you look like your mummy or your daddy? Not like, oh, are you healthy? Like I think normal mums and dads might think. So after that, they got me on the bed and they gave me a vitamin K injection into my thigh. That's to help get the placenta out. So the midwife started pulling on my placenta cord, and she then suddenly said, "Oh no!" And I was like, "What?" And she said the cord had snapped. And I didn't really know what that meant at this point. I was like, oh, okay. I just thought that you'd birth the placenta. But apparently that meant that I had to have surgery to remove the placenta. After all that, hardly any pain medication, I had to go and have a spinal tap and have a surgeon remove it from the inside. But when I was in the surgery room, I felt on cloud nine. I'd just had my baby. It was just a really surreal feeling. Maybe I was high. That's how it felt in a way. I don't get high. So when my operation was over, they wheeled me back to Jack and the baby, and they placed her on my chest. And she immediately tried to find my breast and started to latch on, or try to latch on, which was really interesting to see that they know what to do, even at like a few hours old. I couldn't believe how beautiful she was. And I still don't know who she looked like at the time, but I guess when babies get older, they develop their features. Apparently, she looks like me now. So my partner told me that I had a bloodshot eye, and during the birth, I apparently popped my blood vessel in my eye. So the first pictures of me and the newborn were not. I don't look back at them and think, "Oh, that's lovely." Oh, look at that eye. I hope that doesn't happen this time round. So overall, for me, it was a tough birth. Still fairly positive. Nothing bad happened. Um, I think I'm a bit of a wimp. So for the second time around, I'd like to remain at home for a bit longer, but who knows what's going to happen, because apparently second births are quicker. So with my pain threshold being as low as it is, I'm not sure how I'll gauge whether I need to go to hospital or not. I'll probably end up having the baby at home. So a pretty long story, but there you have it, and thank you for listening. I promised you a bump update for week 25, so I'll put a little clip here. I'm sure I could pass it being 30 weeks pregnant by now. Anyway, if you've made it this far, thank you so much for listening to the birth story. Please subscribe to my channel if you want to carry on and follow me through my second pregnancy and maybe the birth.